Hey, welcome back to the studio tonight. Alright, tonight we're going to do a simple flower in a vase. I've been doing a little other things lately. I thought it would be nice to step back and just do a little still life. So to that end, this is just a little hydrangea, I believe it's hydrangea, in a small pitcher, a little simple background, and sitting on a table. I have sketched, I'm going to set that off to the side, sketch my picture out kind of the way I want it, and we're going to jump right in. I'm going to just start setting down some basic colors for it here. I'm going to give a simple yellow in the background here. Just this is azo yellow, I believe. I'm sorry, this is Hansa yellow I put in here. I'm just going to get it nice and watery. I'm just going to drop it in right around our subject. I'm going to also, while I'm doing this, come in and drop in just a little bit of, I want this to be a warmer color, but I don't want it to be a solid color. I'm going to come in with some of this yellow ochre and drop it in here too, and that's just going to help to break up the background. It won't be the same color everywhere. Your eye will like it. We'll give the background a little bit of motion and depth to it without being too kind of overstated or right in your face. You see, I'm just doing it real fast. I'm going to get this background knocked out of the way so we can get on with the fun stuff, the stuff we really want to paint, which is the vase and the flower. Here we go. Alright. Let's see. That's a leaf, I know, if I'm looking at it. I'm deciding what to do right here, and I had to reference my picture to know exactly what I was looking at. That happens to be part of the leaf. I'm going to drop some of this color in. Alright. Get a little bit more of that yellow. Come on to this side. And when we're done, this will look exactly like what it is. A still life painting sitting on a table in front of a wall hanging, a curtain, something. And that's kind of exactly what it is. I've got to move this just ever so slightly so I can get in the side area. Alright, and I want to do this yellow. I guess I should explain why I want to do this yellow. Yellow and purple, or magenta, this color, but yellow and purple are opposites on the color wheel. And when we put that purple in the center of this, after having the yellow on the background, it is just totally going to pop right off of there. It's going to be unbelievable how good that looks. Alright, I'm going to make a gray. I'm going to cheat and use a little bit of my Payne's gray here. I am going to kind of doctor it up a little bit, but I'm going to start with some Payne's gray. And I'm going to mix in a little bit of red until I get just about the right color that I want. Whoa. There we go. A little bit of blue, a little bit of red. It's going to make that a little bit more purpley than gray, really. But I do want quite a bit of gray in it. There we go. I think that's pretty good. I don't want it to be overly purpley, but I do want it just to have a red tint to it. And I'm going to come and just touch that in here. If I get a little bit of that yellow in there, I'm not going to worry about it too much. We'll probably come over with another layer of this. But you can see it flowing this way, and that's fine. Actually, if I get a little too much yellow, I can blot just a little bit out, like that. Just go right back over it. And that's good. And that color will actually help to give it a little definition. It'll look kind of like a little reflection there Like there's some reflected light. And I'm just going to real quickly get that on. And as I come to the front of this, I'm going to add just a little bit of red to it. That red will actually pull it forward in our painting. I'm going to take just a little bit of yellow out there and there, and re-gray this down. Maybe add a little bit of blue. That'll push it back just ever so slightly. And there we go, and that's better. Actually, I like having a different shade of gray in there. That little bit of blue really helps it there. There we go. Alright. Maybe just a little bit brighter in the front. Wow, that red is such an intense color. There we go. Get some of that in the front. Alright, when that dries, that'll look great. Okay. So now what we need to do is we need to mix up a nice dark green for our leaves. Here's one here. We're going to get a nice magenta color. I'm going to take that away. Going to get a nice magenta color for our flowers. If I'm not mistaken, I think this one over here is magenta. That's pretty good. That's a pretty good color right there. And let's just take a look and see what this color next to it is. It's a little bit more pinky, but that's still pretty good. I'm going to just kind of make a nice soupy mixture here. And up in this one, I'm going to start to get a nice green for us. This is Windsor green, if you've seen me use this palette before. And this Windsor green is a little bluer, a little colder than I like it to be. I want my greens to be a little bit warmer. In this case though, looking at the picture, I don't think it's too bad. I want a nice cold green to go on there. That looks pretty good. Yes, I'm stalling. If you haven't noticed, I'm stalling. I'm trying to wait just a little bit to see if we can get some of this to dry here. I think it's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and start with a leaf here. I didn't quite get a point. I'm going to start back here, I guess. And if our colors run just ever so slightly, we're not going to worry about it. That's kind of the fun of watercolors. They can do that. And we'll go back on with another coat of this green. And it'll just, everything will mesh right in there. You won't notice that it wasn't supposed to be that way. Alright. Like I said, this is our first coat we're doing. Right here, we're just going to go really fast and get this on kind of right around our flowers. We're going to let those stay until the end. Alright. Let's get way down in there. Just like that. There we go. Beautiful. Get a little bit more of my blue here. Green. Whatever color I'm using to paint my leaves with. Blue, green, green, blue. Let's see, how can I do this? Alright, right like that. Go right over it. Painting just this leaf. I got asked a question. Do I paint, when I paint something larger, do I get the entire sheet of paper wet when I paint it? Or do I just do a wet on dry technique all the time? What's the technique that I like to use? And the answer really is, I do it just exactly like I'm doing this. I need to get just a slightly smaller brush. I'll paint one area at a time. In that area, I'll get it nice and wet and leave everything else around it dry, and I'll just paint. And as long as I'm painting in a wet area, about a wet area, everything seems to work out just about right. There we go. Let's see. What else do I have? I've got a stem here. I'm going to grab a little bit of, what's this color? Yellow ochre for my green. I want my stem to be a bit different. It runs right up there, something like that. Alright, and now our magenta-y color. We're not going to waste a lot of time on this because we're going to come back for a second coat. We're going to put it on, see how it goes. We'll give it a shot with a dryer here and let it all dry off, and then we'll come back and we'll start adding some details on our next go around. Let's see, I can tell I don't have nearly enough, and I need a bigger brush. I guess this is the downside of painting the way I do, is that if I move from a smaller spot to a bigger spot, I end up trying to do it with a smaller brush, and then I've got to switch back and switch back. That's okay. You just grab it and go. Don't worry about it. You hear me say that a lot. Don't worry about it. It's just watercolors. Don't worry about it. And really, in watercolors, that's the way it is. It's just water with a little pigment on a little bit of paper. Most of the pigment you can get off if you need to. If you're using a sturdy paper, you can usually get most of the pigment off. The reds really usually stain pretty bad, but even with those, if you try, you can get them off pretty good so that you can paint over them, at least with another red color when you want to go over them. You can't always get enough off so that your paper is white and you can use it for anything else again. But if you get to this stage and you went, oh, I really hate it, I want to start over again, you could totally take it outside. I've actually seen videos of people do it. They take it outside and spray it with a garden hose, blast it all off. Most of that paint comes off of there. Your paper is down to mostly white again, and you just start over. So you're not losing much. You're not hurting anything. If you get some paint on there, I have a little sprayer here. It sprays a little straight line. Sometimes I've had to take paint off that way. It's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. We're just gonna go with it, and I've learned to deal with it. You make a little mistake, you incorporate it into the rest of your painting. We don't worry about it and go on. You learn to handle it as it happens. The more you do it, it just becomes second nature. Alright, and again, I'm just putting on some basic color on our picture here. I know it comes out this way. Yeah, I got a little bit of that leaf color in there, but that's alright. And this goes over here. I'm going to make it just a little darker. I want to be able to put a little bit of shadow right underneath here, just to show that leaf is sticking out a little bit. Alright, I'm going to put a little bit of shadow back here. Show it's two colors, and a little bit of it down here to try and show that it's round. Uh-oh, I got a little extra blue there. I got a whole spot of blue. I didn't quite want it. And let's see. And there we go. There's our first go around with this. It looks pretty good to me. I'm gonna give it a shot with a hairdryer. Just a little dryer I've got. It'll start to dry this off. We'll give it another layer, and it'll start to look fantastic. Here we go. I almost blew it off the table there. All right, here we go. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna get a brush. Let's see, I'm gonna get this one, my favorite Winsor & Newton University brush, and I'm gonna mark in my mind where the center of some of these flowers are, and I am going to darken around it. I'm just going to darken just a touch around that center, something like that. And I'm going to let it sit for a second, and then I'm going to pull that color out. See, I've got another center here. There we go. I know I've got another one here that can be pulled out. One here. Where else do I have the center of a flower? I think I have one here and here. Alright, so I'm going to get my brush mostly dry. I'm going to go right around the edge of that. I'm going to get a little bit more water on it than that, but not too much. And just pull that right out. There we go. Just pull that right out to what I've drawn as the end of these petals. It's going to get a little too much water on that one, and that's going to preserve that darkness right in the center of that petal for us. All right, now I'm going to go and I'm going to. Oh, here's one I missed. I'm going to go right around there. All right, and now I'm going to look to see where I have anything between some petals. I'll put where I think it would be right in the middle of some of these petals, if we're able to do that. And you'll see in just a second that these are going to start to just come out on their own. Whoa, too much. There we go, that's better. So it's just a touch. I'll let that pull right out to the end. That's what's going to give us our depth to these flowers. A little bit of water, dab it off. I want it really dark where I started from, and just let it ride all the way to the end. Just spread that out. And it's going to look just like some leaves, where it's dark in the center and lighter out towards the end of that petal. Let's see. You can also put it on the back side of a petal and pull it out. It'll look like the flower behind it is showing the whole petal. Here we go. Pull that out. Pull this one out. Right in there. There we go. The key to it though is you got to get it to blend out. You can't have a solid color. It's got to be able to blend from the center all the way to the outside. And that's the way it's going to look, like it's darker, like it's going in. And we can do this one more time. We can do it 2 more times if we wanted to, really. We can do as many times as we want. But for our purposes here, we'll probably do it one more time just to make sure. We'll dry it off and make sure that our flowers get really dark on the inside. It trails off to being nice and light on the outside. There we go. I want to make sure we got a nice bit of color in there. And let's push that out. And we're not trying to paint all the flowers perfectly. That would take a long time to do. It would be hard to do. What we're trying to do is give your eyes the indication of some flowers that are already there. So we want your eye to look at it and go, oh, there's a flower right there. That's it. Okay, let's see. So now I want to try and do these leaves. I'm going to do something here. I'm going to paint it, and I'm going to leave that center line, that vein line, that inside vein line. I'm going to leave that alone. I'm not going to do anything with that. Here we go. Do the same thing on this side. Leaving that vein line right there. let the watercolor paint do the work for us. We just left, there we go, just left that vein. We didn't do the work, it did it. We get the benefit from it. So let's see, I think that vein line on this one goes right in through there somewhere. Something like that. Do the same thing on the other side. Right down, and the further you go, that's got to get a little smaller and a little smaller until, you know, it can touch right at the very end. Alright, there's that one. Real quick, real easy, real simple leaves we're doing here. There we go. Let's see, I got one back here in the back. Let's see if I can do that. Oh, it's in the back. I want it to be a slightly different color. So I want the difference between this one and that one to be known. So I'm going to alter the color a little bit. Just something like that. It's a little further away. I don't want it to be quite as dark. Let's see. Let's do that. There we go, that's better. And let's see, I've got this one in the front here. So I think this vein line comes down something like that, and we'll darken this whole one in, this whole side in. Alright. And then of course we've got something on the far side back there, which probably goes just like that. There we go. Now we got a couple of leaves that have veins on them. We didn't even have to do anything for the veins. We've got our flowers that are starting to look good up here. Let's turn our attention to a little bit of our gray here. I'm okay with the front. That's all right with me. I'm going to mix up a little bit of shadow color here. I'm just using a little gray and a little ultramarine blue. I've just thrown a tiny bit of, what is that, Van Dyke brown into it. Our shadow I don't think is all that pronounced, so I'm not making it a bright colored shadow, but I want to put just a bit of a shadow on here. And I'm gonna, here's our flowers out like this, something like that, something shape. Right, there we go. Just let me push in real tight on this leaf. I want, if I have to leave a line of white or a lighter color right next to it, I want it to be as small as possible. There we go. I'm going to get just, I'm going to do the same thing, just a little bit on this side over here. And I actually think our flower comes out this way a bit more. In my mind, that's how it happens. So in my picture, that's how it happens. There's our shadow from that. I'm going to go back to my old brush, the first brush I used. Now I've got all kinds of color in this paint, and that's fine. Let's see, I had the yellow in here and that gold, and I want to put in some strips, like it's folded just ever so slightly, the background. I don't want it to be a solid thing back there. So I think I'm just going to put in some random arbitrary lines. As you look at it, your mind isn't going to say, wait a minute, what exactly is that? Your mind's going to go, oh, it looks like something's folded or slightly different back there. And again, I don't want this to have a super hard edge. I might be able to deal with a little bit of a hard edge, but I don't want the whole thing to have a hard edge. I'm just going to go back and soften just a little bit of this as I go through. There we go. Again, it's just wetting the brush and letting it dance right on the edge, right on the side of it. On this one, we need to make sure we are touching, at least in a couple of places, the vase and the leaf and the flower. Alright, now we've just, in a very short amount of time, we added a lot of interest to that background. Let's see. My picture is dry back here. I'm going to take that color, I'm going to add a little bit extra blue to it. Make it a little bit more runny. I'm going to add some blue, just, that's a little too much, just ever so slightly to underneath our leaf here. It'll make it look like it's standing out. I'm going to go back and I'm going to put a little bit of shadow on the bottom of our bowl or our pitcher, whatever we're using here. Let's see. In my mind, it goes something like that. Soften that top edge to it. There we go. So I got a little extra blue on there. I can probably pull that right out without any problem. Perfect. So now I've got a shadow here, I've got a shadow there, shadow cast on the ground. I've got some interest in the background. It looks like my flowers have dried, my hydrangea have dried just a little bit. I'll go back and add just a little bit extra of this darkness on the insides here, on places I've previously darkened. Make them even darker. Just quickly, we don't need a whole lot of detail on these, we just need just a slight amount. There we go. Just going to make this not, again, just not quite so hard of an edge. I don't want all of it anyways to look like a hard line in there. I'm going to take just a touch. I've got a little white on a different palette. This is what's this? White gouache. And I'm going to go into where I have my, actually I'm not going to use this brush. I'm going to use a liner brush because it has a nice tip on it. There we go. I'm going to go into the centers of these and I'm going to just dab on a little spot, where there might be a bit of a highlight. I can live with that. One there. One there. I can't live with that one. Still can't live with it. I think it's better like that. Just a little bit right there. I'll put one down here. Alright, and I'm going to use that same liner. I'm going to come back and get some of my green. And I'm going to put in some... Can I touch that? Yeah, I can touch that. I'm just going to get just a little bit of paint on my brush. And I'm going to put in some extra veining. Something like this. It's going to add a lot of roundness to that for us. There we go. On this back side, it's not quite so round. Let's see, I'll do it from down here this time. I'm not even sure. I'm putting them on kind of light. I don't want it too dark. I don't even know what you can make out in the picture, in the video. Let's see, there we go. And I'm going to do a little bit of it here, so... And all you're doing is imagining where these vein lines are. putting them on. And there we go. There's a simple hydrangea in a vase on a table. I'm just going to sign it. And we're done. If you like it, give a like to the video. I would love for you to subscribe. I would love to see you back here in the studio again, working on another project with me. That's all for tonight. Check back another time. All right. Thank you.